So, one of my students in a class that I instructed at my alma mater, Mercer University, it's a program for high schoolers who are aspiring to go to college. And I was instructing them in SAT math, and the young lady she said to me, "Mr. McClendon, just tell me like, what's the purpose of all this math stuff and all the x and squared this and that and all this? Like, what is that going to do for me?" And I responded with what I'm going to talk about in this video, which is one of the reasons why I believe that math is important. Now, math is just really amazing. It's really, if you think about it, it really helps you make sense of the world. But one way that math helps you make sense of the world is through money, even more specifically with the making of money in your sleep, otherwise known as interest. Okay. When you get interest on money that you put into some sort of investment vehicle, whether it be a savings account or buying a share in the stock market, um, CD, whatever, knowing math will help you make money because a lot of people are focused on getting that high paying job, that high paying career, whatever. And that's great. I encourage you to do that. As an engineer, as one who formerly worked in the engineering office, engineering is a high paying job, relatively high paying. And so by all means, get a career like that. However, if you understand the way math works, and specifically if you understand the concept of interest, then you're not the only one working to generate income. Your money as well can be making income for you. These days, that's a really cliche, but in this video, I want to show you, if you're one of the students who is fretting about knowing this math stuff, if you can understand the math behind interest and whatnot, then you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see one of the reasons that math is actually very valuable. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some of this math. Okay. So in this part of the video, I want to talk a bit about um, three different investment vehicles, three different investment types that you can use to make money in your sleep. And this is for you students who want to know, the worth of math. Check this out. So the first type of investment I want to talk about is what you call a personal savings account. You can open these up at pretty much any local bank. And the one I was looking up locally, I'm not going to mention the name of it, but this is a pretty typical uh, percentage or interest rate, or what you call APY, annual percentage yield, 0.35%. Now, I'm not going to lie, that's not a lot. So that is literally 0.35 out of 100. Okay. And so what that means is you get 35 cents for every $100. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot, but still it's something. Let's say that you had an investment amount of $100. Okay. Now, there's an equation that you probably learned like algebra 1 or somewhere around there. Um, how do I want to write it? So P um of T equals A times 1 plus R to the T. So this is what you call like an exponential growth equation where P of T is your final amount of money. A is your initial amount. R is your interest rate. And then T is the time elapsed. The time, I'll just say time. So let's see how, if you put $100 in this personal savings account, how that would grow over 1 year. Now, one thing that I'll say about this interest rate, this is an APY. It's not like a standard interest rate. That means that it takes into account what you would call compounding. Compounding, and this is something that you hear a lot about. Compounding is basically making interest off of your interest. EST. Of course, and initial investment. And let me add this. I'll say how frequently you are. So compounding is how frequently you're making interest off of your interest and your initial investment. So if an account, just to explain this quickly, if you invest your money in some sort of um, interest generating account and it is compounded monthly, that means whatever the interest rate is on that account, that means that you divide that interest rate by 12, and that, so like for example, if it was 12, if it was let's do an easy number. I'll say 1.2 um percent interest rate on an account. That means every month 0.1% interest is applied to your account. So that's 1.1% times whatever your current balance is. That's going to be added back into your account. And then that happens every time. So what happens is compounding has to do with how often you're making interest off of your interest and initial investment. So whenever you have basically, I put it this way: the more your account compounds, the more of an impact it has on your whatever your basic interest rate is. It helps you to make more interest. Okay, but that's probably just another video. So let's see. So we want to know what is our final amount going to be after 1 year. So that means when t is equal to 1, what is p of t? Okay, so p of 1 is going to be equal to our initial amount invested into this savings account times 1 plus our interest rate, which is 0.35%, which is 0.0 035. Make sure that's right. Um 00. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. And then that's going to be for t equals 1 year. Okay. So in other words, 100 times 1.0035. Okay. And so that means after 1 year, your $100 has turned into $100.35. Now, that might not seem like a lot, and to be honest, when you compare to other investment vehicles, 0.35% interest isn't a lot. The more money you have, the more money you'll make, but it's still not a lot. However, consider the fact that this is without you doing anything. Okay. Now, again, you probably want to as soon as you can go to something that makes more interest than this, because this isn't even like matching what inflation typically is, which is probably another video. All right, let's talk about another investment vehicle. We'll say a high yield savings account. So a high yield savings account is basically just like a savings account that has a higher um, interest on it. That's what yield has to do with. You get more interest out of this account. Typically, these are going to be online banks. And I actually use two of them, one personally and one for MassWat Tutoring, matter of fact. So, say the one I looked up, has an interest rate of 3.90%. That's a APY again, so it takes into account compounding. If I'm not mistaken, this one ends up being compounded daily, but remember that's actually already put into this the compounding effect has already been taken care of in this interest rate. So again, if you started with $100 and you did that for 1 year, what would your final investment amount be after 1 year? So P of 1 year equals your initial investment times 1 plus, that's going to be 0.039 for 1 year. Okay? And so then what happens is this becomes 100 times 1.039, or in other words, that's going to be equal to P of 1 equals $103.90. Okay? Now, keep in mind, yes, $3.90 over the course of a year doesn't necessarily seem like a lot, but this is money that you didn't have to do anything for. It's your money making money. Okay. So what was our last one? It was 135. So you have 103.90 minus 135. Okay. So that's gonna be 8, um, 10, 5. So that is $3.55 more. So you see, this was an interest rate of 3.9%. This was an interest rate of 0.35%. Okay, so you already see you make $3.55 more on the 3.9% interest rate high yield savings account than the other account, which is 0.35% interest. Now imagine if it were $1,000. If it was $1,000, you would make $35.50 off of it. If it was $10,000, you'd make $355 over the course of a year. If it were, you see what I'm saying? So it kind of goes up from there. Last investment type I want to talk about is, so this is called SCHD, and this is what you call a dividend ETF, a dividend exchange traded fund. So this is literally something that you would buy if you're investing in the stock market. And I actually buy this. Now, you don't talk about these in terms of APY per se. They kind of vary because it just depends on what the ETF is invested in and how it fluctuates with the markets. But the 12-year return, when I checked it last, was 12.23%. I mean, the 10-year, did I say 12-year return? 10-year return. Now, that's over 10 years, but that's a lot, okay? That's way more, okay? So now, let's apply the same equation. So P of T equals A1 plus R to the T. Now, we're going to say we're going to say that T equals, um, this is what we're going to do because this is for 10 years. So we're going to say, for intents and purposes, the time period is going to be equal to 1, but that's like one group of 10 years, if that makes sense. And we want to know, what does our investment turn into after that one group of 10 years. Okay. So that's how we can still put the rate as 12.23%. So that equals 100 times 1 plus 0.1223 to the first power. So that's going to be 1.1223, or in other words, it's going to be $112.23. Okay. So in other words, you started with $100 and you increased, so you went up $12.23 without doing anything else with that money. So how much would that have been in just 1 year? 1 year. So that means 12.23 divided by 10. So that'd be 123 per year. Okay. So so divide that by 10. That'd be 123, approximately 123 per year. Okay. So that means so let's do this. So basically what happens is you have the personal savings. After 1 year you would make um your 100 would turn to 135. Then you have the high yield savings where your $100 would turn into, what was that, 103 90. Then with this ETF, SCHD, sorry, writing sloppy, your $100 would turn into 101.23. Okay. Now, when you understand about investment, so let me write the interest rates here. This was 0.35%. This was over per year. This was let's see, 3.9% per year, and then this was 12.23% per 10 years, which that is probably more likely to fluctuate. So in the short term, even though it's not necessarily true, this could actually seem like the best investment. But the nature of the stock market is such that you may even get, like, you might get 5% in less than a year. So this is like your more stable investment that produces a decent return. Whereas an investment in an ETF like this could still be a better investment because if especially if you carry it over time, but then also because of the nature of the market, you could make, way more than 3.9% in a smaller period of time, less than a year. It's just the way that the market goes. Um, I'm saying all that to say math is not worthless. If you understand math, then it can help you to do something that pretty much all of us want to do, which is make more money. It can. So just, to my students, I just want to tell you to hang in there, learn the math, especially, learn about the math behind finances, because you might discover that it can help you not just get a job that pays well, but use the money that with your good paying job to invest to make way more money to build wealth. Okay, so let me know if this video convinced you that math is actually worth something, and like and subscribe and have a good one. Hey, thank you for watching this video. If you need math tutoring or you need SAT math help, look in the description to find out how you can sign up today. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you stay in touch with Math Swap Tutoring on YouTube. Have a good one.